And national orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris leads his counterpart in the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning, Mr. Atiku Bagudu, to this press conference to address a burning issue. Nigeria's signing of the Samoa Agreement is the focus of the briefing, following reactions that have been generated since the federal government signed a deal on June 28, 2024.
We will also continue to guarantee citizens' rights.
The government received criticisms, especially from religious leaders, for signing the deal, which is reported to contain clauses that compel members to support the agitations by the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community, also known as LGBTQ, for recognition as a condition for getting financial and other support from advanced societies.
By falsely accusing the government of signing a deal to promote LGBTQ. We found that despicable and wicked because the allegation is nowhere in the document signed on behalf of the federal government. Surprisingly, the paper put forward no evidence nor provide the agreement allegedly signed to prove their point. The baseless and sensational story unfortunately formed a basis for Utba, that means Friday sermons, by some of our respected imams around the country who were misled by the story, thereby raising tempers around the country.
The Minister of Budget and Economic Planning oversees the implementation of economic agreements, and the minister explains how the agreements will be beneficial to the country.
The Post-Cotonou Agreement or the Partnership Agreement is a vital legal framework for cooperation between the OACPS and the European Union, with the aim of promoting sustainable development, fighting climate change and its effect, generating investment opportunities, and fostering collaboration among OACPS member states at the international stage.
The federal government further clarifies that Nigeria is not negotiating for, nor has it received any loan to the tune of $150 million from the agreement.
All right, so that will be the crux of our conversation, but we do have some breaking news for you right now. Remember, we told you earlier that there is this case in Supreme Court, and we're waiting for the ruling from the Supreme Court. Well, that ruling has been made, and we're hearing now that it is unconstitutional, according to the Supreme Court. It is unconstitutional for state governors to hold on to funds meant for local governance. So we're seeing that right now breaking from the Supreme Court right here in Abuja, local government financial autonomy. The lead judgment is being read by Justice Emmanuel Agim, and he is finding, and I'll say it again, that it is unconstitutional for state governors to hold on to funds meant for local governments, and that the refusal has gone on for over 2 decades, adding that it is the local government council that should manage their funds. That's the lead story right now. This is going to paint every conversation. I think I want to start with that before we move on to the Samoa agreement. We have with us former presidential aide, Mr. Laulu Akande, with you, and host of Inside Sources. Good to have you here with us.
Good morning, Kayla. Good to see you again.
So let's talk a bit about this. Let's start from here before we get to Samoa.
Exciting news.
So because we have been talking about local government autonomy, it's been a very big issue, blamed for everything, the economic downturn, insecurity. Now the Supreme Court has done this. So what next?
So I think it's a big flip, and it's exciting that the Supreme Court has acted on the side of common sense and on the side of reason. We hope that first of all we should get more details of this thing, but we hope that this will be compelling enough for us to begin to see some changes. Certainly there are governors who are not affected, but for the most part, we have suffered as a people by the fact that local government administration in our country has virtually disappeared. We hope that this is going to be a turning point.
A ruling from the Supreme Court means they can be compelled.
Absolutely.
That's the best part of this
Absolutely,
story.
yeah.
They can now be compelled.
I just meant that, yes, we need more details because you know how it is that people will now begin to spin things back and forth.
No.
But I think you are right.
Yes. You can now be compelled to do the right thing. And local government administration is one that has suffered.
I mean, basically disappeared. Yeah, for most of the states that we have. So this is very, very fulfilling, and it's exciting.
Let's see how the state governors will react. For the state governors, and who we know over the years have not been in support of this local government autonomy. Not all of them. Many people have.
Of course. Some
but
of them.
There are those that are notorious for it.
Yeah, I mean, clearly.
How do you think they're going to take this?
Well, just like you said, this is the law, and this is the highest court in the land, saying that they have to do things properly by the Constitution, and properly in a way that helps us as a people to deliver what government ought to deliver for the people.
So, like I like to say,
it's good.
The law may not change the heart, but it will tame the heartless.
Absolutely.
It will tame the heartless.
Absolutely.
Let's go on to the Samoa agreement.
Yes.
This up and down about this agreement. Let me start from this treaty that we've entered into.
Right.
What was it supposed to give us as a country, first of all?
Okay, well, so now the treaty itself is meant to be something that the European Union trying to get people in Africa, in the Caribbean, together in one place for them to give, quote unquote, some kind of aid, and as they say in the treaty, in the introduction, it's better for them to deal with the block, of Africans and Caribbeans in one place rather than have to do bilaterals with each of the countries, And of course, we know the sum of money that is involved. But
how much?
About $150 million, I think.
What are we supposed to use the money for?
Well, I guess, so it's essentially for development purposes. And, I don't think there's going to be one specific theme for the money, but they're going to develop programs. But the more important point, Kayla, is that many of these promises are never kept. That's the first thing that, most of them are not kept. How many times have we had promises of aid from all these agencies that are basically what the young Nigerians we call audio promises? But, a lot. Secondly, we ourselves need to, start to get ourselves more informed about these things and not get excited. As we are speaking now, there are a lot of promises that have been made regarding climate change adaptations that have not been met. And that's just one example. There are tons of instances of many of these quote-unquote agreements that promises aid that don't really add up. Even when they give it, it doesn't significantly affect our development. What we know that we should be advocating for more is investment, doing business together, doing trade together. That is where we can really get the real significant point. But, we get ourselves excited, $150 million and all kinds of stuff. Who says that we are even going to get a dime, at the end of the day? Who says the money is going to be available based on the experiences that we have? But the more important thing, again, the second important thing for me is that this Samoa deal is just a distraction. It's a complete distraction. Why do I say that? So we are so worried about, the LGBTQ high, they are trying to sneak that into our system. The truth of the matter is that is already in our system. Just go to social media. That's all you need to do. Go to social media and see how openly, those who think that is their orientation, they are expressing themselves.
I mean, I told the lawmaker yesterday if he was aware of this. You know what he said to us?
He said he's not aware.
Yes. He said he wasn't aware.
So we pretend as if we don't know these things. We pretend as if we haven't seen this thing, especially on social media. Even children of prominent people coming out in the open and say that this is my orientation. If we really want to, and of course our law is against it, but what have we done about it? We have not done anything really. And now somebody is saying that, they put something in an agreement. Clearly it's not even in the agreement. Because if you read the agreement, it is very clear that it is not in the agreement.
Let's stay on that point.
Yes.
It's not in the agreement?
It's not in the agreement.
So those clauses in the agreement that actually talk about gender equality,
yes,
and talks about sexual freedoms and sexual rights.
Yes.
So for many people, and we've heard them talk even on this program, say basically, look, when we hear these words, these are pointers. So when they talk about reproductive rights, many people believe that you're talking about abortions.
Yes.
When we talk about equality among the genders.
Right.
It used to mean that, women and men would be at par, but now it
Right.
means that there are other genders that have to be recognized as well.
In cultures
And then
where...
when he talks about sexual freedoms, you know, for many people, they believe that this basically is talking about your sexual choices and the right for you to express those. Now, what the bone of contention is that these things are against our laws, our people, whatever the world may be thinking about these things, they're against the laws of Nigeria.
Yeah.
And the laws of Nigeria are made for Nigerians.
Right.
If they don't like it, don't force it on them. Now, those clauses inside the Samoa Agreement talk about these things and the fact that countries like Nigeria were against them.
Yeah.
But I think that part of the conversation is where things get a little lost in translation. So maybe you could help us break that down a little.
Yeah, so those clauses, will always be interpreted as it is for everybody in the context of the culture of each country and the laws of each country. Let's even assume that those things are there, and for some reason the federal government has signed it. It's of no effect until it is enacted, because if it does affect our laws, if it runs against our laws, we have to, if we want to do it, we have to bring it into our laws, our legal system and enact it. That has not happened, and that is not going to happen. So it's the reason why I said this is just all noise, a storm in a teacup. But more importantly, it's a complete distraction. There are more important things that we need to get excited about, that we are not, we are losing focus on dealing with them. If we must call government out, let's call government out on corruption. If we must call government out, let's call them out on problems of governance, not about a Samoa deal that is not going to really add anything significant, if at all it is even going to, if you're going to get it, or something that is basically, trying to call our attention to, what is already going on. Look, LGBTQ, I don't know whether the Q is here, but LGBT, they are active in Nigeria.
QI and plus
exactly,
in
they
Nigeria.
are active in Nigeria. Just go to social media, go to Instagram, it's all over there. What are we doing about it?
All right, well, we do have to manage our time probably because there's a lot of things to talk about when it comes to this Samoa agreement. But listening to you, you're basically saying, look, this LGBTQI plus clause inside is not there. Just so we get that that's your thoughts.
Yeah, but one more thing. So we have two ministers, the information minister, the budget and planning minister, and then the NBA.
President.
Now, the NBA came out and said, look, when this thing was happening, the Minister of Budget and National Planning actually referred the document to us to review it. And we reviewed it, and we didn't see anything objectionable, especially regarding the spheres about LGBTQ. So it's just, complete distraction, killer.
Let's talk about the Oronsaye report, which is not a distraction.
Yeah.
Cutting down the cost of governance has always been a very important thing for all of us here in this country. But we're hearing about the creation of new ministries. The Oronsaye report was basically trying to reduce things, but we're seeing an increase in all of that. And what that does to proper coordination of government activities and the cost of governance. Let's talk a bit about this Oronsaye report. Is it something that can work, considering that our country is a lot different than it was at the time when Oronsaye wrote this report? Yeah, well,
I believe February earlier this year, after a federal executive council meeting, government spokespeople came out and said that the president and the council have brought back the Oronsaye report, and they indicated aspects of it that will be implemented, and then set up a committee headed by the Secretary to the Government of Federation, and gave the committee 12 weeks, to return and make a report on how the implementation will be done. So to that extent, number one, yes, this government has made a commitment, a decision to implement portions of the Oronsaye report. And that is commendable, okay? Now, the other thing to say is that, so between February 26, which was the time when the Federal Executive Council made this announcement that, the Tinubu administration will be implementing portions of the Oronsaye report, between that time and now is more than 12 weeks. That was February, the second month of the year. We're now in June, the seventh month of the year. 5 months, we have had no kind of communication from the chairman of the committee, and that is the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. That was the person that was put in charge. And the press release that was shared with the public said 12 weeks. Now, 12 weeks must have ended in March, April, and May. And so now we've had June, and we are in July. Mr. Secretary to the Government of the Federation, what is happening? Where is the report?
Let's get Ayo to weigh in on that as well.
Well, thank you, Kayla. It's probably actually quite a troubling thing. Perhaps, Mr. Akande, the issue here is whether or not people understand what the issues are. What do you think generally the people in position to do anything significant have a good enough understanding of what the issues are as far as this issue is concerned? I know it's something that was probably even played with in the government in which you served, but what exactly would you say is the bane of implementation of this Oronsaye report?
Well, thank you, Ayo. I think that what it is the test. What we are having, what is happening, is what I describe as the test of the strength or lack of it of the political will. That is what it would take, and as a government, we are not able to muster the political will in the last 8 years, or since actually, I think 2012, that the Oronsaye report was submitted. Okay, now, but the Federal Executive Council under this administration came up and said, you know what, there are portions of these things that we are ready to implement now. So if that is not happening at the pace that we were told it will happen, like I said, February, they said it's going to be 12 weeks. That 12 weeks should have finished by May. Now we are 2 months away from that. We don't have any kind of update. So this is a test of the political will. And to your question, Hayo, it is the political will that drives a lot of these things. If the people that are at the top insist, and if they are properly supported by a diligent team, then they will be able to do this thing. Because look, the work of president, for instance, or the work in the presidency is Herculean. So if we are depending only on just, for instance, Mr. President, the buck stops at the table, and yes, he is going to be responsible when everything is done and said, and it's over. They will be calling the name of the president, just like people are calling the name of Buhari now. Okay, so all of those are realities, but the president is always defined. The successes or the failures of a president or any leader for that matter, governors, even senators, is always defined by the people that are around him, the kind of diligence that they have, their willingness
to determine who and who should my apologies. I really wish there was a way to determine who and who should be around the president at any given point in time, but unfortunately, I don't even think that is possible. But still on that issue that, Kayla raised with you about the livestock ministry, that the Senate, has a bill banning open grazing on the one hand. On the other hand is the proposition of the creation of the livestock ministry. What sort of conflict do you see, arising from this proposition of the federal government?
Well, so what I have gathered, since I think 2 days ago when the president announced that a new Ministry of Livestock Development is going to be formed, is that essentially this is an attempt, to bring some kind of political solution to a recurring and rather, problematic situation about the clashes between farmers and herders. I think the herders in particular, you know, and the related farming system, people in that subsector, they have a notion or a belief, as a matter of fact, that they have been shortchanged in the current Ministry of Agriculture. Their argument is that, look, there is not enough attention that is being paid to livestock issues. And that advocacy is coming from, you know, groups like the MACBAN, which is believed to be, you know, the pressure group of the pastoralists, the nomadic pastoralists. So I think this is a concession from the government to say that, look, if this is going to give us peace in this country by creating, you know, a ministry, and then we ensure that we have ranching, you know, and do it properly and increase the productivity, then let's do it. And quite frankly,
the only question, my apologies. The only question that may also arise from there is the federal government doesn't have agricultural land. It has to talk to the states. Now, they put that in the context of the Land Use Act. So it's part of the, do you see a conflict coming? Given that during the proposition, just a second, when you were in government, you were one of the people working with the vice president there to push the National Livestock Transformation Plan. I'm not sure whether the governors actually bought it at the time. And now this. What's the assurance that the governors are going to, you know, buy it, so to speak?
Okay, thank you, Ayo. So the National Livestock Transformation Plan, which was approved in February, I believe, of 2019, or thereabout, you know, probably not February, sometimes in 2019, was actually conceived at the level of the National Economic Council. That was where the idea was conceived. And the idea was developed right there with the governors, you know, sitting in subcommittees. Okay, one of the subcommittees, I think the main subcommittee was headed by then Governor Umahi of Ebonyi State. And what they did was to travel to all the frontline states where you were having a lot of the farmers and others clashes to engage the stakeholders, all the stakeholders, be they farmers, be they elders, traditional institutions, religious institutions, community groups, the government, you know, the people. And that was how the National Livestock Transformation Plan was developed. So quite frankly, and as a matter of fact, Ayo, this was an idea from the governors. So the governors endorsed it. And yes, it was very clear, clearly stated that land belonged to the states. And that was why it was the governors that were driving it.
Yeah, so one then wonders how come it didn't really, you know, take a life of its own. And now we're talking about the Federal Ministry of Livestock Development. Anyway, well, Mr. Akande, just to put this out, we're running out of time, I'm sure you understand. Well, Kayla already broke the news, but a few more information about it is the fact that the Supreme Court has directed that local government allocation should be paid directly to them. The Supreme Court, of course, the Justice Agim is the one that read this background, and it says it's unconstitutional that state governors hold onto funds meant for 774 local government councils. He said it's the local government councils that should manage their funds. He dismissed the preliminary objections of the defendants, the 36 AGs, stating that the AGF has the right to institute the suit and protect the Constitution. He also pointed out that the governor's retention of the monies meant for the local government truncates their activities. That suit, you remember, was filed by the Attorney General of the Federation, and he was requesting that the Apex Court authorize the direct transfer of funds from the Federation account to local government in accordance with the Constitution. That's the update, and a lot more of that is coming. I understand that there is still conversations, Kayla, around whether the local governments should be having their own elections by the INEC or by the state independent electoral commissions. More and more to come, right?
Exactly. Well, another thing that Justice Agima said is that implementation has to be immediate.
Yeah.
Which is where which is the key thing in this conversation.
And I think that besides saying that, we have to be grateful because the Supreme Court has done the right thing, I think we have to also commend the Attorney General for the boldness to bring up this matter and taking it to this conclusion. It is important for us to ensure that the local governments in our country is revived. So kudos, Attorney General, for a great job.
All right. Well, just so you can know, in your local government, you can actually go because it's the attention that as a people we drew to local authorities that led to this. So you can go to your local authorities and make sure that this is implemented. Thank you so much again, Mr. Laulu Akande, for being with us on the program.
Good to see you.
And that's a wrap on Sunrise Daily today. Have a great day ahead. I'm Kayla Megwa.
Stick with Channels Television. We'll bring you more of this information and several others. At the top of the hour is the news. More to come. I'm Ayo Makine. Enjoy your day.